So now the question is if Congress could actually adjust the amount of money that you receive from Social Security, because the millions of seniors and senior citizens and also retirees are worried about what the lawmakers are going to do in order to keep Social Security and Medicare solvent. One proposal is going to support both parties and it could cut the benefits by 50%. Now, today the Senate Republican Bill Cassidy told reporters that Joe Biden and the former president have the same plan on Social Security. Senator Cassidy said both Joe Biden and the former president have the same plan, which is to do nothing on Social Security and to allow a 24% cut to benefits when the fund goes insolvent in about 8 or 9 years. They both have the same plan of doing nothing. Social Security and Medicare have been at the center of contentious debate across party lines over federal entitlement programs. Even Republicans have pushed for spending cuts, demanding Democrats make commitments about negotiations on a debt ceiling. They've said entitlement programs are not in jeopardy, but Democrats have painted the spending cut calls as threats and positioned themselves as protectors of the program. Funding for Medicare is expected to hit a shortfall in 2028, while Social Security could run out of money in 2032. Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid currently make up nearly half of the entire federal budget, with an annual cost of $1 trillion. Senator Cassidy proposed creating a fund which is separate from Social Security, or about $500 billion to be invested into the nation's economy. Plus, Cassidy stated, "And we allow it to sit here, we allow it to grow, and at the end, it helps bridge Social Security's sustainability and all the risk that is borne by the fund." One other option being discussed is raising retirement age. Republicans like Louisiana Senator John Kennedy and even his presidential candidate have recently proposed doing that. Last year, a group of House Republicans called for increasing the retirement age to 70 years old for Social Security and Medicare. That's then indexing it to life expectancy. But it's not only Republicans supporting the change, because many of the Democrats have shown their support for a higher retirement age. Raising the eligibility age is not an insignificant proposal. Research has found that raising this would actually increase and cut monthly Social Security payments for early retirees by about 15%. And people in low-income or blue-collar jobs would see their retirement cut the most. And according to USA Today, the average cost for a gallon of gas, of regular gas that is up 21 cents in just 1 month. The national average price for a gallon of gas was $3.67. On average, the gallon of gas is also widening variably across the country. For instance, in California, it was $4.20. In Mississippi, it's $3.16. Meanwhile, the national average price of diesel has fallen 0.3 cents in the last week and stands at $4.15 a gallon, 87 cents lower than a year ago. But according to analysis at JP Morgan, oil prices are poised to rally soon, as the Federal Reserve is expected to pause its rate hikes. Since the 80s, the final increase in a tightening cycle has been followed by increasing in the price of Brent crude 3 months later, returning an average of 9%. Now, it's the most traded of all the oil benchmarks and is defined as the most drilled in the North Shore fields. The main takeaway is for now that if the Fed pauses its rate hiking campaign soon, the most likely scenario is that oil performs well. Markets expect the Fed to raise the rates one more time, lifting them by another 25 basis points. So this can mean several good things for the American people. In response to inflation, the Federal Reserve has embarked on a series of hikes to its benchmark interest rate, which raises borrowing costs for consumers and businesses alike. That should slow the economy and slash demand, however, eventually bringing down prices for some goods at least. But rate hikes produced mixed results for rent prices. Economists have said that a slower economy and a potential reduction in consumer spending should put downward pressure on demand, causing prices to fall. But rate hikes also lead to a rise in mortgage rates, which keeps prospective home buyers in the rental market as they await a better home buying opportunity, helping sustain demand and limit price declines.
She now qualifies for a $1,400 check. With the first 2 rounds of checks, it didn't matter if you were struggling to pay your own way through college, as long as you were claimed as a dependent and were aged 17 to 21, no stimulus for you. Couple of catches. 1, the money goes to mom and dad, not you. And 2, if they earn more than $160,000 a year combined, you still won't qualify.
Everybody, Joe Biden is taking action for the people. He's urging that companies lower their prices for everyday necessities. He also said that for gas and groceries, things need to be cheaper. So, President Biden also is trying to pursue higher taxes on oil companies and their profits, as if the industry giants do not work to cut gas prices. Joe Biden has criticized oil companies that have made record high profits. It comes as consumers struggle to keep up with high gas prices. According to AAA, today the price of a gallon of gas was $3.76, down from a record of over $5 in June, but still higher than a year ago. And when asked about the gas companies, Biden said it's time for these companies to stop their profiteering. If they don't, they're going to pay a higher tax on their excess profits. And right before Election Day, everybody, the White House messaged that it's focused on how Democrats are going to improve the economy, and Republicans will make it worse. Inflation and the economy consistently rank at a top issue for voters, and higher gas prices stretch consumer budgets for much of the year. Any new taxes on oil profits would need congressional approval, which may prove difficult as Democrats control both chambers of Congress by slim margins. Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren also previously floated the idea. The Republicans, who generally support lower taxes, hope to win back one or both chambers in Congress as of the November 8th midterms. Shell also made $9.5 billion in profits in the third quarter, almost double what it made the same period last year. Exxon profits in the third quarter made $18 billion, and that nearly tripled what Exxon made last year, and the most in its year history. And now Biden has made pleas to the oil companies to increase production rather than to enrich shareholders in recent weeks, as the price of gas remains high. Now, early this month, though, President Biden announced that the release of 15 million barrels of oil from the Strategic Petroleum Reserve will inflect inflation. Biden promised in his speech earlier today to purchase oil to refill the reserve once the price hits $70 a barrel. He said companies should therefore invest now and increase production with the confidence that the government will pursue and purchase the oil later. AAA reported today that gas prices in the state of Florida fell last week and are set to rise this week when the state gas tax holiday increases again. The tax holiday has allowed drivers in Florida to fill up their tanks without paying the state's 25 cents a gallon of tax. The holiday, part of a broad tax package approved this year by lawmakers in DeSantis, started October. Now, when the state sales tax holiday was implemented at the beginning of the month, gas prices declined in total of 22 cents within a couple of days. But the savings for drivers didn't last long. In a recent news release, AAA reported that during the first week of October, OPEC announced plans to cut its oil production rate, which sparked a 17% oil price hike, raising the cost of producing gas and ultimately dragged Floridians' gas prices back to where they were. Chicago motorists also speaking out after the OPEC announced its
1% inflation rate, that the cost of living increase for next year for Social Security beneficiaries would be 10.5%. If so, that would be a record high. What that means in practice is that the average check would go up by about $175 a month to a monthly amount of $1,668. But there are some wild cards to this.
So guys, economists